Welcome to the Luxury Code, where we decode the mindset, the marketing, and the business approach of successful luxury brokers. Every agent I talk to fantasizes about raising their average sales price. I mean, think about it. The allure of $1 million transactions, of 5- and 6-figure commission checks, fancy cars, fancy houses, a fancy lifestyle. It just sounds so easy, doesn't it, guys?
Sure.
Yeah.
So today,
That's
right,
exactly
that's all it is,
Sums
right?
it up.
All
Show
the
up,
glamour.
look good, and you're ready to go.
It's MTV Cribs.
Yeah.
I loved MTV Cribs.
Who didn't?
Basically,
Yeah.
you guys do that all day long now.
Yes.
So, hey, in this episode, we're going to unpack insights, tactics, a lot of threes from 3 extraordinary, a husband and wife team, and Steven Cohen from New York City, about what they do to really make it happen. So why don't we start, Lauren, with some introductions. So give us context for who you are, right? You and Jon together, right? And then how long you been in the business, what kind of volume, production, transactions, GCI, all that stuff this year.
It's a lot. Okay. I've been in the business for 18 years. Jon and I have been working together for 7 years, which is actually when we started coaching with you. And year to date, I mean, you want numbers for this year?
Yeah, talk to us.
This year we'll hit 750 closed.
750 million.
Yeah,
750 million, 3/4 of a, is that almost $1 billion, right? 3/4 of a billion?
3/4 of a billion.
$3/4 of a billion. Yes, no editing on this show, by the way. 3/4 of $1 billion in sales. What did you guys do last year, just for context?
Last year was about 230, I think.
230.
That's a pretty, does that just piss you off,
Yeah,
Steven Cohen? Yes, okay, just checking. So 18 years in the business, 7 years in this partnership. This year, $750 million in volume. How many transactions does that represent?
About 275.
That's a lot of business in the high end.
It's an insane number in the high end. Like the idea of, we go to your events all the time. We hear people throwing out these numbers.
Right.
How many units you sell? 480. I sold, 200 and whatever. We never thought about doing that many sales. It's just, it's very foreign in the high end market.
I know it
Yeah.
is. Well, not anymore, clearly.
Yeah.
Not anymore. What's GCI in 750?
Just shy of 12 million.
So $12 million in gross commission income, $750 million in sales, 275 transactions. And now, obviously, the people that are listening are being like, okay, wait a minute. Like, clearly, this is just a husband and wife team. They have no children. They all they do is work 24 hours a day, and they have no team, right?
No, and no.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Or no, yes, no, maybe.
yeah, that was very precise. Jon, break down the team for people to have context, and Steven, I'm coming to you next, so get ready.
Sure. So the team is comprised of about 55 agents and roughly about 15 to 20 staff, 15 full-time, and then I would say 5 virtual assistants, right? So about 75 people in total between agents and staff.
So you're a brokerage.
We're a team, we're a brokerage within a brokerage. And to put that
Yeah.
in perspective, 18 months ago, right at the start of COVID, we were a team of agents and staff, 7 people. So we've gone from 7 people to 70 people in a span of 18 months.
So not only are we going to talk about what it takes to be successful in luxury, we're also going to talk about what does it mean to scale in a luxury marketplace. So you guys are at the agency in Beverly Hills, and the agency is expanding and doing a fantastic job. So we're going to get into all that and more, but let's go to Mr. Steve Cohen, who I think we were trying to figure out earlier. Is this like your 3rd or 300th time on the podcast?
Something like that.
You're
Yeah.
you're
In
like
every
my
state, I just
my
call it.
most popular guest. So Steven, how long in the business?
Okay.
Steven Cohen, New York City, Douglas Elliman, Beverly Hills, but really all of the West Side.
Yeah.
Right. And now also in San Francisco.
Correct.
All right. So 2 markets, which we'll unpack as well. Steven, give them a little background. Like, who are you, how long in the business, and what's your business look like today?
So just shy of 300 million.
Like, how shy is just shy of
It depends if this
Be
deal gets
honest.
signed today.
Oh.
So yeah.
I had a client I just said to, literally, her, Maxine Gellens. She was at $296 million, and I'm like, you should just buy a $4 million house. She was like, you should buy one. She was like putting it right back on me, and I'm like, just 300, right? It's such a huge number.
So that's my closed and pending. It's not all closed yet. That's 7.5 million GCI, and our team we're small. We're it's myself, 2 other brokers or agents, and then I've just brought on in the last 4 months 3 new agents.
Yes.
So there's now 6 in sales, and we have 3 in support.
All right.
And Jon and Lauren, we've known each other for 7-8 years. We were
Yeah.
doing that the
Through
other
the Tom Ferry
Yes.
ecosystem.
Met
Yeah,
at
we
one
met
of
at
your
Summit.
seminars.
Yeah.
And just these guys, it's amazing how they're
Right.
scaling. And I go kicking and screaming because years ago, Tom said, you have to have a team. And I was like, nah, I don't think that's for me.
Yeah.
It's the way to go, though.
Well, you look at $300 million in sales and how many transactions involved. I mean, we're going to get into today for the people that are listening, like taking care of clients and what does that take? And like, what are the expectations of luxury buyers and sellers? Everyone listening is either in the market or they want to be in the market. So let's jump into a bunch of details.
And that's 71 transactions.
Yeah, 71 transactions.
So
It's a lot.
also a big number.
It's a big
That's
number.
a huge, I mean, listen, I know agents that like, hey, we did $100 million in volume last year. I'm like, how many transactions? 18.
Right.
Right? And you're like, first of all, you say, congratulations.
Yeah.
And then you think to yourself, could you imagine if they just pushed a little, not that they have to, not everybody does.
Sure.
Right? But clearly the three of you are trying to push the envelope here. So I wrote down a bunch of these 3 questions, right? Like 3 of this and 3 of that and 3 of this. Let's play along. Ready? What are the 3 things, in your opinion, does it take to truly be successful in the high end? Whoever wants to go. It's just a conversation.
I'll throw in a couple. I would say an insane amount of market knowledge.
Yeah.
In the high end, at least in our market, a lot of stuff trades off market.
Yep.
You're either in the know or you're not.
Right.
You have to know about those properties and those opportunities. And that's just, you have to immerse yourself into market knowledge.
But how do I do that, John?
Part of that is, I think you have to also be a brilliant networker.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because most of these people, they don't want to necessarily be marketed to or sold to. They want a warm connection that's going to be through someone else in their sphere.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to network within that sphere. And once you're in it, you just have to ask probing questions, whether it be of them or of your colleagues, or, just really kind of scour the market to understand what's under construction, what's coming up, who bought what. They want to know that. You have, I always say every moment is an interview. Right, you just get whether you know it or not, you could literally be in an elevator. That's why they call it the elevator pitch, right? And you're talking to somebody, and if you, in one answer or in a span of 30 to 60 seconds, are able to just spew out some market knowledge effortlessly, that's it. You clearly demonstrated that you came to play, that you know what you're doing.
Right.
So,
how important then, just to unpack that, and just everybody jump in here, how important is then agent-to-agent relationships?
I was just going to say that.
Because, some people will say, oh, the New York City marketplace is just cutthroat. L.A. marketplace is just cutthroat. St. Louis is cutthroat. I mean, like, whatever. Like, everyone's going to say that about their market. And yet, my experience is the best, whether they're competing or not, have all figured out, like, hey, we're all a little better if we communicate with one another. So how do you make that work?
I'll jump in. That was going to be one of the ones on my list, as well as knowing the market. That's first and foremost for sure. But part of knowing the market is those relationships with agents. You have to befriend all of these agents because it's a very small and tight-knit community. Even in a large city like L.A. or New York, it's a very small group. And if you don't make friends with those people, you don't learn what they have coming up, you don't just get as much information as you can from them, there's no shot at knowing the market.
Right.
And I'd add to that, it's not just knowing them, but I'm very proud of our reputation that we have. That brokers, we're brokers like us time and time again. I have heard people say, I'd much rather do this deal with you than that other broker.
right.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example of.
Please don't say the other brokers.
No. But I'm trying to schedule something for Monday, and it's a client whose name we're not releasing right now, and I'm showing.
That's,
them
by the way,
things.
another skill at the high end.
Yes. Discretion is everything.
Everything.
Yes. And 6 appointments. 5 have been so gracious because they know me, and and we're not bringing the client, we're bringing their advisor, their person that runs their family office. And I've said, just trust me, this will be a household name. If they like it, we'll tell you the name and they'll come back.
Right.
Everyone's been so gracious. There's an old school broker who was nasty when I started in this business 21 years ago. She's not nearly who she was back then.
Yeah.
And she's equally, I almost said to her, God, you haven't changed a bit. And,
said not with love.
Oh, she was
And speaking to the value of having relationships between brokers,
Right.
the high-end client is referring to, we referred to him.
That's right.
Oh, this is, okay, got it.
But that's the value of having somebody even 3,000 miles away that I can say with full trust and confidence, I have a partner in New York. I'm going to make a connection to you, connection for you. You're in great hands.
Yeah. And knowing it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's almost as important on the agent and broker side of things for them to look at you as an equal as it is for clients to look at you as an equal. they need to feel confidence in who you are as an agent, both integrity, reputation, speaking to Steven's point, and that's where deals get done. Like calls get made to us about off-market opportunities because of the integrity we have and the reputation we have. And it also, even you're in a multiple offer situation, guess who's getting the deal? The person that has a relationship with that agent and knows that we'll get it done. So anyway, that door swings both ways.
So if we talk about the three most important things, there's always never just three. There's like 50, right? But one clearly is market knowledge. One is, it sounds like resources, like resources of knowing the best people to contact in that area. And like you guys always talk about, like, hey, we take on the client and we don't just have one arrow in the quiver. Like, we're going to do whatever. Do you need the builder? Do you need this? Do you need that? Like, how does an agent get to that point? They're coming into the marketplace, and how do they get to know who the best developers are, who the best builders, who the most reliable people are, right? Like, how do you like, because that's like the fabric of real estate, that somebody comes in and says, well, I can sit in an open house and maybe meet a buyer and maybe be compelling.
But then what?
Exactly.
Right.
I think the short answer is it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
There isn't a magic pill. You have to work your way up towards that. I think one way to work your way up towards that is modeling and emulating after other people who have already blazed that path, right? Mm-hmm. Just find someone whose business you want yours to, you aspire yours to look like. Mm-hmm. Shadow that person, ask them if they'll be your mentor. I'm a big proponent of standing on the shoulders of giants. We have some big giants at our company that
1,000%.
We've always had that opportunity to do.
Yep.
And then, build your own sort of pyramid of resources, if you will, with intention, knowing what you want it to look like, but knowing that you're just not going to have that on day one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go a different direction. You got any thoughts on that?
I was just going to add that I would even go a step further for newer agents, even considering going and working for one of these people and sitting inspections where you can get to know who the inspectors are, develop those relationships. So that's to me the way you fast track building that book of resources is working very closely along the side of a big agent.
Especially nowadays, where when I started, teams were not the thing.
No.
But now, my God, opportunity to jump on a team. There are that many, and they're good teams. There are opportunities,
good teams, big
for
brands,
a young, smart, new agent can join.
Yeah.
I'd say also, I always talk about this on podcasts, vision and visualizing.
He always talks about this.
On every podcast.
I'm glad we all caught that. This is his first podcast, in case you're
wondering. We're friends.
I'm also not this tall, but okay.
Yes.
Anyway,
welcome to the world of apple boxes.
So, no, when I first my first interview at my prior firm, where I was for 20 years, at Corcoran, when I said I want to be broker to the rich and famous. Now that didn't happen right away, and we do deals as you guys do. I do a $500,000 deal, and thank God we do $20, $30, $40 million deals. But the point was, I had this vision, and I knew what I wanted. And then, like anything in life, you have a vision. In everything and anything I've ever gotten in my life, it's because I could see it and visualize it.
Right. He brings up another good point, though, which is one of our sort of core philosophies is we're not in the business of turning down business, because you never know when a $5,000 a month lease is going to lead to a $5 million listing.
Right.
So even though that's your intention, I totally agree. You have to have a clear vision so you can manifest it. Take everything.
Oh my God.
Because you just don't know where it's going to lead you to. And then you can start, the building blocks will develop from there.
The worst thing that I'm sure you guys get this. Oh, we just bought this $2 million apartment. I didn't think you dealt in I was like, don't deal in $2 million properties. What are you talking about?
Like, it's like the bread and butter of the city. Like,
so
please.
No, I'm not that big.
But the objection handling that I use when it comes to like being in a listing appointment, and they go, I looked up your company. I see you guys sell these $100 million homes. You look like you're kind of too big for us. And I go, it's true. We do. We're privileged to be able to represent some of the biggest, most expensive homes in the city. Those are our big blockbusters. Those go up on the marquee, right? That's our Transformers that has the $200 million budget. Mm-hmm. But while people are in the seats getting ready to watch that big blockbuster, we pump them with a lot of trailers, right? Because we have the audience.
That's great.
So they're already on our website. People are looking at us. We're already getting the eyeballs, and then we get to show them this, and then we get to show them that.
Right.
And that kind of helps.
That's good.
They're like, my house is a trailer.
No, but I
love the but I like the metaphor.
Analogy. You get the metaphor, whatever.
Okay, so that's interesting. I was going to go skills, but I'm going to go marketing first, because I think, when you're entering into any market, when you're entering in any business, how are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to become the one? How are you going to get people to at least pay attention to you? So just let's round robin, like marketing that works, marketing that doesn't work. And maybe the bigger one is, and how do you stay relevant?
Consistency, absolute consistency.
With what?
Our social media,
Mm-hmm.
putting things out. We're posting every day.
Mm-hmm.
We do a newsletter once a month, and it's consistent.
Okay,
And that took time.
Newsletter, mailed, email.
Now we email. I
Okay.
mean, years ago we mailed it. No, it's all
Right.
emailed, and our whole list gets it.
Mhm. How many people on the list?
51,000.
So
You have 51,000 emails?
I
What
knew
are
that
we
was
getting
gonna-
wrong?
yeah.
And by
You're
the
like, we should do a joint email marketing campaign together. So 51,000 emails,
yeah.
but that's probably brokers,
It's
relationships
everything. Anyone
of
I've
all
ever
over the
met,
world,
it's my
right?
grandmother's best
Yes.
friend. who's
Okay.
maybe
Got
no
it.
longer living, but she's
Right. With an
who
AOL
never,
account.
Who never had an email, but she's getting our
Yes.
emails.
So 51,000, and so that's going out once a month,
Once
and then
a
you're
month.
doing social every day.
Yes.
What else?
Very
Like that's it?
consistent with that. We do mailers, but we're just getting back into mailers.
Okay.
Where we're farming in New York is
Right.
certain buildings where we've done a lot of business. We're sending postcards to those, and we're doing that twice a month. But again, we're just getting back to that. The bulk of
Why?
So the bulk of my business, of my team's business, is our personal sphere,
Yeah.
repeat customers, and referrals.
Yes.
And I always say I become friends with my clients, and my clients become friends. We want another sphere, and it's just, I think it's important to keep us out there. It's another
Yeah.
way for us to be out there and
Yeah.
for people to know the Steve Cohen team.
Right. And even in the 15 buildings, we were talking about this last night, the 15
Yes.
buildings are all buildings that he's done a ton of transactions in. So you have brand name recognition, but I guarantee there's at least 15 agents that live in those 15 buildings.
1,000%.
So if you're not doing
Yes.
something, Martha gets the listing because she was at the mailbox that
Right.
day. Right.
Yeah.
So direct mail, what about like, do you make phone calls?
Yeah, 7 calls
that's,
a day.
That's marketing.
Yeah, so it's actually called the TF Challenge.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we all have to track it because
Yep.
you
Yep.
challenged us. It's 7 calls a day for all the salespeople.
Yep.
And calls, text.
Yeah.
It's just touching
Communication.
base.
Yep.
It's making sure we're in touch. Birthdays, because I have everyone's birthdays.
Right.
So it's just a touch point.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say went out of my head.
We're going to come back to, I'm going to come back to video because I know you're doing video too, but
Yes.
what doesn't work, what works,
Sure.
and then we'll have a whole separate conversation around relevancy.
So first off, I would say as it comes to for marketing, originality isn't as important as authenticity,
Yeah.
right? You don't have
Speak to that.
Well, just that I don't know that I've ever had an original thought in my head, but I'm authentic, right?
Yeah.
My brand is myself. There's only one me, and I try to, I don't want to say sell that, but I present that, right?
Yes.
It doesn't have to necessarily be original. You don't have to reinvent the
Right.
wheel. You just have to be a really true, authentic version of yourself. And there are going to be people that know, like you, and trust you, and there's people that maybe you're not the right fit, and there's an ass for every seat, right? You just kind of have to accept
7.5
that.
billion people on the planet, don't need them all.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other one, look, you can do mailers, and I think it's important. I think it's one component of it, but in the ultra-luxe space, these people don't check their mail, right? They don't receive their mail. They have an assistant that sort of skims through it, and postcards and flyers are going to be thrown out. So I don't think that's how you reach them. I think you reach them, again, it goes back to networking, right? You really I go to as many events as possible. I'll go to the opening of an envelope. I'll go to anything to just just.
That was a good line. I had to think. I was like, that's good. I'll go to the opening of an envelope.
I mean, any
Hashtag.
opening event, any
Right.
fundraiser, anything where I have an opportunity to sort of mix and mingle,
Right.
because look, the one thing I
See
was
and be seen, right? I mean,
it's see and be seen, and I always try to explain to newer agents, talking about luxury real estate, it's a layup. People want to talk about it, right? You're not there to talk to them about their taxes or a root canal.
No.
They want to talk about it. They're interested in it. So
but you're not walking up like, "Hey, I'm Jon Grauman from the agency. Here's my card."
No. No, what I'll do is I'll ask about them. I'll get them talking about them for multiple reasons. One, everyone likes to talk about themselves.
Yep.
2, they're going to give me a roadmap for what to say next.
Bingo.
Right? They're going to tell me where I need to steer that conversation. And then 3, people naturally, if they have any sort of common courtesy, will reciprocate.
Always.
And what do you do? Oh, so glad you asked.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
Right? And then
How do you describe it?
How do I describe what?
John, what do you do for a living?
Ah, shit.
That wasn't on the list.
Well, I kind of maybe.
You know, I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I'll just
Yeah.
say I do real estate.
Yeah.
I never say I'm a real estate agent. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'll say I sell luxury real estate.
Yep.
But also that kind of sometimes feels a little cheesy.
Yeah,
I sell
yeah.
luxury, you know.
Right, yeah.
I do real estate. I work in real estate, and usually that kind of prompts the next question, and then
Yeah.
that allows me to kind of
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Isn't it weird? Like, it doesn't really even matter the price point. Like, I hear the same from people selling $200,000 houses and people selling like $200 million houses. It doesn't seem to, like, there's just this weird sort of stigma when people are like, because there's such a weird stigma with agents.
Yes.
If you look at
Yes.
If you look at the broke agent, you look at television, you look at a lot of mass media, you look at all these surveys of like real estate agents and where they rank in terms of professionalism. I mean, we run with a very different flock of agents, right?
Yes.
Like our peer group is pretty significant, yet we know that there's some people that feel that. So like, why do you feel that way?
I feel that way because, and I'm projecting a little bit here, so there's some
Sure.
unfairness in that I don't know what they're thinking, but I
Right.
would imagine that some of them, when you say, you know, I'm a real estate agent, they go, ugh.
Right.
Or like, who fucking isn't? Right?
Right,
Like, just one of
exactly.
those,
Welcome to LA, right?
Or
Exactly.
they're,
You know?
or they're talking to
Exactly.
me because they have an ulterior motive to.
Right.
Right.
do
All of a
this, right.
sudden,
They're like, oh,
this
you're going to go
guy's
into,
gunning
you're going to
for
go
me.
into,
Yeah.
and that, but that's, see, I think that is not a luxury distinction, but even more important in luxury, that is the distinction that nobody wants to talk to Sarah at the party when she starts handing out business cards or saying, you know, oh my God, I got this great deal. Like no one asked. But I think that's one of the biggest mistakes we see agents just make in general.
Right. But again, rather than coming right out and
Mhm.
saying it, if
Yeah.
you can ask probing questions, get
Yep.
them talking, you can steer it towards real
Right.
estate. Again, like I said, talking about high-end real estate, it's a layup. It's
Right.
easy. People
Right.
want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But definitely not passing out business cards or like,
Yeah.
hey, I heard about this deal. Like, again, you're wanting to position yourself as an equal with them. And the moment you start talking anything about sales, especially in
You're a
a
service provider now.
correct.
So,
that-
and we're advisors, and that's
Mm-hmm.
high-end people want advisors.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go. What I used to struggle with that too. I
Yeah.
used to say I'm in real estate, and then it took like four, like it's like people that go to Harvard and they say they went to school in Boston. We all know what that means.
Yeah.
You went to Harvard, just
Yeah,
say
yeah.
you went to Harvard.
That's when I always go.
'cause I didn't.
I always go like this. I go, MIT?
Right.
And then
You know what I say?
No, I went to Harvard.
No, you know what
I'm
I say?
like,
I
I'm
always
like, I
say-
knew you weren't that smart.
I say, isn't that a community college? Is that a 2-year? Anyway, not to knock anyone on Harvard. I have lots of friends that went to Harvard.
But by the way,
Yes.
comedy is a good thing, right? It
course.
breaks
Yes.
the ice,
yes.
right? And then
Yes.
they're like, oh,
Yes.
you know.
It
Makes
takes
you
them off
human.
like, wait, you don't know?
For sure, you don't know Harvard.
But the point, I used to say that, and it just reminded me, God, I used to struggle with that. Now I just say, I'm in real estate, and I have a team at Element. And then
Yeah.
immediately they usually know.
And that's actually nice. Just I'm at the agency. I sell
I'm in real estate.
right?
I'm at
Yeah.
the agency.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Right.
I like
Because
that.
it's just subtle, right?
Yeah.
And just to go back to the marketing piece, when on our social media, and Serene, who runs our marketing and our social, she comes up with posts, and I'm always thinking, it changes who is in my mind,
Mhm.
but it's kind of a client who I have, or a client who's referred a lot of business, and they're a certain echelon, and we're close, and I like them, and I feel they have really fine taste. What will they think? What will they think when I'm putting out
Yes.
we had a photo shoot 6 months ago, and I bagged the whole thing because it was just, we did not accomplish what I want. And we had an ad we run in Hamptons Magazine during the summer 3 times. I just scrapped it. I said, I'd rather have no ad in Labor Day than have that picture of me with sunglasses that
Sending the wrong message.
God, it
yes.
was-
Right.
yeah.
It was
And
fun in the
so
moment
I
when you
scrapped
shot it, and then you're like, when you think
This
so.
did not
so
execute the way I
so
thought.
relevancy. Okay, relevancy. But first, I think we need to unpack how you guys went from 7 to like 7 million people on your team, because your business has been really bifurcated, really between John and Adam and what they're doing versus the other side of the business. Can you unpack that for us? Because that's a whole marketing thing we didn't discuss.
Sure.
Yeah. One thing I'll add on marketing just super fast before we
Please.
move on in terms of do's and don'ts, at least what I see a lot in our marketplace is, you know, newer agents that are really only positioning themselves and aligning themselves with these high-end luxe properties. And it feels inauthentic. Like first of all, you need to know your audience, and most of the high-end audience is sophisticated and is not in your face and flashy. But in addition to that, you want to be approachable to everyone and come across like a real human being. So I think, going back to what we were talking about in terms of how to be successful in the luxe market, knowing the marketplace, your message and proximity, all those things need to then be portrayed in your marketing. So that needs to be top of mind in terms of how are you educating, how are you aligning yourself with, being a luxury agent, but one that is coming from a place of knowledge and expertise versus like going through the houses with the Ferraris and Lamborghinis in the background.
Right. But really, we're talking about almost like branding and positioning.
Yes.
So how have you worked to sort of craft, especially with bringing on, Adam now as a partner, like how have you crafted this trio/team from a branding perspective that is both authentic, attractive, relevant, right? Oh, okay, they're not too big. There's a lot of people there. Am I going to get the kind of customer service I want? Like all the questions that go through a consumer's mind when we're thinking through how we want to portray ourselves in the marketplace. What are your thoughts there?
First, I'll say it's a work in progress.
Always.
Yes. So unpackaging. So yes, Jon and Adam are kind of separate as a partnership now, and the team sits everywhere. It is the other side of it. There's been a tremendous amount of infrastructure and support that we've built out. And for us, at least, what my obsession is and what our support staff's obsession is on client experience first and foremost. And it's very easy to lose when you're going into hundreds of transactions.
Yeah, scaling.
People getting lost in kind of the shuffle or feeling like they're being passed from one person to the other person. So there's a tremendous attention to detail through literally each and every step of the transaction process, the listing coordination process, all of it. And that's constant. Like I just got done auditing those processes last week, and we'll do it each quarter. But I think it's bringing in the key players. We haven't made all of the right decisions along the way in this 18 months with so much scaling.
And at a certain point, you just accept the fact that you're not going to bat 1,000, right?
No.
When you have that many agents, not each one's going to work out. When you have that many staff members, not each one's going to work out, even with the best of intentions and a rigorous, hiring process. But as you always say, slow to hire, quick to fire, right? You have to be decisive. But it is, I'll jump in just real quick, it is, as you said, bifurcated. Adam and I kind of have our own business. Adam and I, of the $750 million we're going to do this year, Adam and I did about 350 of that, right? So we make up roughly about half.
On like 50 or 60 transactions.
Yes. Again, his businesses and mine are different. Adam is like just a big league. He's their cleanup batter, right? He's just really swinging for the fences.
Batting fourth with an average sales price of $11 million. Right.
It's about right. Yeah. I mean, his biggest deal this year, he double-ended a $36 million sale. I double-ended a $26 million sale. But we also do everything in between, which is part of our messaging, both internally and what we project externally, is that luxury isn't a price. Luxury isn't a price point. It's an experience.
100%.
Tell me you trademarked that.
No, because I stole it.
Tim Smith's right now going, who you work with matters.
No, but it's a great line. And
it is a great line. Say it again.
Luxury isn't a price point; it's an experience.
Yeah,
and that just the messaging behind that is that we focus on the client, not on the size of the deal. Right? We're here to service each client the same way with the same level of care and attention and priority, regardless of whether it's a $500,000 condo or a $20 million house.
Love it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Steven?
I love that.
Are you stealing that?
I already did.
See, that's what happens when all the best get together and become friends. Okay, so relevancy. What does it mean to you when I say relevancy?
Staying relevant?
Yeah.
I want to, so, when I first started out and I thought about marketing going back 20 years ago, and I was only doing these little dinky postcards once a month or whatever it was, my image was anyone who thinks about real estate, if it's in my sphere, I want them to think of me, whether they're buying, selling, or talking to their friend at a dinner party. I think it means that top of mind when you just said it, whether it's 500,000 or 20 million or 30 million or anywhere in between, when someone's thinking about real estate, that there's a lot of good brokers. Well, there's a lot of brokers. There's good brokers too, really good brokers in New York. And I don't find it cutthroat.
Yeah.
There's a few, but not really. That I'm part of 1, 2, or 3 that they're thinking of.
Yeah.
If not the only one, that's ideal. But if there's a group, that I'm definitely part of it.
So I would just, John, you got relevancy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does it mean to be a relevant broker in the city on the West Side?
I think relevancy just goes back to market knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always talk about relevancy as it relates to neighborhoods. When people talk about, what makes a neighborhood a certain way and whether or not they think the values in that neighborhood is going to be sustainable, I go back to relevancy. Well, it's located within walking distance of 3rd Street Promenade. That's always going to be relevant, and thus it's always going to create value in the neighborhood. So again, relevancy to me is about having their finger on the pulse, and, just providing immense amounts of value.
Yeah. Thoughts on that?
I would just add, to me, the pursuit of staying relevant is the pursuit of constantly striving to be better, constantly feeding your mind, constantly growing in your knowledge, constantly working to improve customer experience. Like once you lose that fire in your belly to keep growing and keep being better, you start dropping in terms of your relevance, because there's going to be 20 other people that are
on your heels.
Yes.
It's a young man's game out there.
Yes.
I mean, young man and women. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
the number of kids, I hate to say it like that are coming to us that
John, how old are you now?
I'm 42.
The number of kids.
Okay, fine. Young adults, the number of
Yes.
young adults that are coming
John's
to
like,
us.
well, back in my day when I
Really?
started selling,
The number
I'm
of young
42.
adults
Yes,
that
I
are
got
coming
you.
to us, like, hey, I just graduated college last week.
from
And-
USC.
Exactly.
I was a part of the Hoobie Doobie Alpha Delta Delta Phi.
Yep.
Where they're like, I know everybody. Let's go.
My parents just dropped $400,000 on my college education.
Right.
I want to sell real estate.
Yep.
So
And by the way,
it's-
I've seen every $1 million listing show,
Right.
and I'm going to kill it.
Well, that's
Right.
what changed it.
that,
for
yes,
sure.
yes.
For sure.
It was always a second. It's a very easy entry
Yep.
profession.
Yep.
That's why the bad reputation, because
Right.
anyone
Yes.
can get
Right.
in.
Yes.
But over the years, I've met with more of my friends, families, kids, whatever it is. I'll talk to anyone if they're interested. But that it was always a second and third.
It's always
career
been a
choice, and now
third, fourth,
people
fifth career.
come,
It's a
like you
first,
say,
yes.
out of good school, say,
glamorized.
"This is what I want to do."
Television has glamorized, sensationalized,
Yes.
romanticized what we do, right? And they boil it because they only got a 30-minute episode to work with, so deals are done over
Really
the phone,
fast.
on speakerphone. I'm
Yes.
authorized to go to X. Yes, we have a deal. and
$100,000
that's it.
commission.
Yeah.
And it's obviously complete BS. But you're right. I think that changed everything. And there is way too. I mean, it's a whole different topic. But there's way too low of a bar for entry to be dealing with people's most prized, most valuable assets.
And
Way
it's
too low
become
of a
an
bar.
asset that is, we've seen the real estate market values have gone, not just, real estate investment, and not just our markets, where 2 are the highest markets in the country, but second and third tier markets, the prices are crazy. And look what
Boise,
happened
Idaho,
during
40%
COVID.
appreciation 2
And
years
yes.
back to back.
Yeah.
Jack, everything with a lake, a mountain, a river, a
100%.
golf course
Yes.
is just wow,
Yeah.
through the roof.
And in luxury, where years ago they did a study,
Mhm.
people would have second and third homes. Super high end, the ultra wealthy have 7 and 8 homes.
Yeah, real quick, let me just give you a
Yeah.
stat because it's
Yeah.
insane.
Give it to
Because
us.
as we know, obviously when COVID happened, everybody kind of wanted to get outside of the cities, right?
Yep.
They wanted to get a place where they have more space, and the rich only got richer and so forth. The markets
Yeah.
performed super well, yada, yada, yada. In Aspen, where the agency has an office, on average, they were doing about 2 sales per year north of $20 million. In the last 12 months,
Yep.
24 sales north of $20 million.
Yep.
That's insane. From 2 to 24, that's crazy.
It is. Okay, so let's talk about like cultural and then just relevancy as it relates to the business. So in Aspen just announced no more short-term rentals, only 1-year leases. What do you think is going to happen to the Aspen market now? I mean, a lot of those people that third,
What'd you
fourth,
say?
fifth,
Black market.
but think about it, like third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh house.
Yeah.
And they only use it like in Jackson or like Wilson proper. Like you can rent out your place, it's totally fine, but you only rent it out 1 time a month, right? Like that's it, right? So some of these places they were renting it out on a weekly basis, depending upon the CCNRs of the community, et cetera. But like all of a sudden now, that's gone.
My honest opinion,
Yeah,
I don't think that'll have any impact whatsoever
Yeah.
because the people that have the means and the ability to own those houses, they don't need that rental income.
yeah.
and most of them don't want it. They're not renting it out.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, look, a lot of Beverly Hills and Bel Air sits vacant each night, right?
Right.
Those homes aren't occupied full time. They are second, third, fifth, sixth homes.
Yeah.
Aspen is such a luxury play. Few people live in
Yeah.
Aspen,
No
right?
one's there during the shoulder seasons, right? Like
I don't think it affects it at all.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Okay.
And I can tell they
Yeah.
did that in the Hamptons,
Yeah.
where we're
Yeah.
in East Hampton. It's there. Everybody catches up. It's not a problem.